Okay. Cool. So I'm gonna spend a couple minutes thinking I can maybe get my chat working. Why multi-stream chat? Caster Labs. Labs. The fuck? Pardon me, I don't know if anyone's there. I do have a restream chat. Just trying to find my chat app. Because it would be cool to overlay chat when I stream. But for some reason it's not. No, I should have fixed this. If anyone's here, feel free to be like, yo, bro. Bruh. This is stupid. Can we, like, look at this Shaligram now? Or something else? Caster Labs. Caster Labs. Where? I don't have a freaking icon. What did I do? Can't search it. Caster Labs. Maybe. Caffeinated. Maybe that's what I need to search for. Uh-oh. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. Okay. I guess I'll just look at this in the meantime. I had some thoughts the other day. I don't know what to talk about. I was thinking I'd talk about some Shaligrams. It would be cool if this thing would work. It's not doing anything. I think I need it open, or it doesn't work. Yeah. Okay, whatever. Okay, so what to do? Okay. Move down a little bit. I don't know where we were on the Shaligrams. I was thinking, instead of like going through these like I have in the past, I would maybe skip through like this and just look at them and try to remember the ones that really, really stuck out the most. Which I'm pretty sure I definitely talked about this one. this one. But I think I talked about that one only, so I didn't necessarily go through them. This one I might have talked about in a previous episode. So shaligrams are caused by current flows and have nothing to do with living creatures that are fossilized. They are the result of very precise current flows that are the result of highly pressurized currents of water that contained the particles of these rocks, compressed the rocks into rocks, and etched the material of the rocks to remove based on the shapes of the current flows. So, for instance, a current flow went through this region of the rock, through here, here, not just the shape, but then anomalously, where ammonites should get larger, like this one has a larger lobe out here, and then this one has a larger lobe out here that fully encompasses it, like above it, below it, above it, below it, encompasses it. This void encompasses a smaller one in here, whereas over here it doesn't encompass. It only like does a lobe off of one side. Clearly part of the same structure, just eroded in some weird way because it's not precisely following the patterns that like a shell would be expected to follow. It's more irregular, although regular repeating structures of ammonites are etched. The subtleties are not the same. And in this instance, an anomaly occurred where it pretty much formed chakras here and here with a lobe and a lobe out this way as like the center of an ammonite. But this one didn't actually have current flows from this other side interact with it, because essentially current goes above and below and meet and create this lobe in resistance of pressures, as current flow goes to the center of the ammonite structure by pressures, and then through it, but then also outward from it, because it essentially is flowing in a eddy that forms as a result of an actual flow of the particles down through the chakras out the other side to a base to then wrap around. Not necessarily happening in every instance. Sometimes the rock is more solid when it is etched there from fully without actually indications of grain motion. Like this doesn't have a top and a bottom in the way that some of them will have the actual ammonite protruding and then having like a mass above and below the ammonite. This one's ammonite is contained, so the matrix around it is like one unit without really being divided. So it's hard to say in a case like this if there was current flows, because it didn't form the top and bottom mounds, but it probably was occurring. Okay, enough about that one, because I'm pretty sure I talked about it anyway. This one I also thought was probably worth just passing by and noting. Like, this ammonite has a structure that goes over this way, up this way, around this ammonite, and yet as we follow it, it goes over to this ammonite because current flows are at play. And this is not the result of fossilization of a shell. It's an actual etching process, and basically in tiers, like layers, where currents flowing along the surface of the stone, held to it by pressures, which may be essentially high velocity currents, since it's water that's not really compressible. So it ultimately translates into velocity, probably, is my guess. Maybe heat also, or some other thing of that nature, but largely velocity. So it may be that these are highly, like, high flow rate currents that are under pressure, that are ultimately etching the stone along its surface and getting into the stone, into the materials, and at times moving it. In this case, it's probably more so getting into the material that's like a mass already compacted, possibly ejected from another ammonite, like a decay of a nucleus, because that's what this is a fractal atomic structure. Not like, this is not an atom, but it's effectively the same structure as an ammonite is an atom. And the interactions are more atomic than we realize. Since we look at them as just fossils, we don't even recognize these types of things. And don't even look at shaligrams. Shaligrams are unique compared to ammonites in general, because ammonites in general do not have these types of features. They aren't found with windows into the stone like this. Not that I know of. They're typically found as like an ammonite, like an actual fossil, just this mass that then is broken from the matrix, so that we don't even know what matrix around it looked like anymore, because we've destroyed all of the evidence effectively. But although there are cases where, like, people document finding ammonites and you can see the evidence around them if you're looking for it, so it's definitely there. It's just not been recognized, or recognized for what it is, at least, even if it's been noticed. And would be like, oh, there's an ammonite, so its surroundings are influenced by its presence during the millions of years post-fossilization. Its presence interacted with the surroundings. Maybe those types of interpretations happen, but the reality is the surroundings were experiencing current flows that essentially converged multiple currents tangentially at points that were then forming eddies that then were within matrices of rock material, of shale, quartz, pyrite, and other materials, and etched them. And here we are, which is why this ammonite connects from above to above this second ammonite in a way that's not even really, like, it should go back and kind of below. It doesn't, like, the way this is inward, it should go inward and maybe across. Something inward should happen. It doesn't do that. Instead, it possibly from generally where it should go inward, it just kind of straight shoots right over to the very edge of this one, which then seemingly interacts across this way as well and flows into an arc like this, probably interacting with currents here, so it can't really, like, go in there, so it runs into it and runs above it, and splits a current this way, Anything below a certain point just couldn't go in the pressures around this eddy of currents going this way that then pushes it down, but then this one goes above it. So it goes through here, wraps around. Must be some pressure on the other side of the stone over there that when this current went across, some other system was present in a way where this current that is effectively part of this system. So since it's part of this like eddy system, it's a strong presence on the rock. It doesn't like it overwhelms most other forces like surface pressures of just currents flowing across more generally across that are ultimately driving forces of the surface features because of these almost like high altitude or high elevation, whatever, like gas clouds, but instead just like water on the surface of the stone that had different layers, that the surface currents were more generally flowing, but then interacted downward in ways that, because of the boundary of resistance, led to turbulence, that led to eddies, that led to large-scale structured eddies that were in certain positions that didn't like move around. They stably flowed where they flowed because of the like stability of the essentially the continuous process that was not changing in terms of like the high pressure was stable. It wasn't like fluctuating pressure. It was just constant enough to hold things in place where they could form in certain locations without some variable knocking everything off balance and then restarting where the eddies were forming so that things like this didn't happen. And instead it was more random and didn't etch the structure and just left like subtle features. Instead, they were precisely positioned, which means they couldn't like move around relative to their surroundings as they etched the stones. Then the current over on this one wraps around more like this one typically would have done, but because it energetically is coupled to this one and exchanged this way instead is what happened. There's also a change in the color, like this area is highly eroded right up to the chakra, interestingly. And maybe if we follow this across, it goes generally to where this lobe is like a boundary. So whatever current was causing a chakra at its boundary, etching this area, was also causing another boundary, but not the chakra, like a secondary outer boundary of another system at a different level, like a different energetic level. Another image, and we're going that way, so maybe this even goes between some other thing by going this way. We could find some way out there. Oh my god. Some sort of pseudo-ammonite thing with like a lobe. So it's kind of doing one there. It's kind of doing one here, but not quite. Like it has part of one that even goes down this way. Across. But then it just sort of combines with this, maybe. So it doesn't actually fully complete the structure's boundaries. And instead, this structure's boundaries is portions of a exchange area between this ammonite structure, this ammonite structure, everything that's forming or trying to form an ammonite structure Instead, it was effectively a place that current flowed, which maybe is why there's more erosion here. Like, it even led to higher flow rates there or something. I don't know why it would be separate. Like, there's no trail, like, from this into this. So it's probably not directly related to this thing, and maybe something more to do with, like, eroding the opening, the window, but doing so in a weird upper way. Like, it's not centered here. It's more upper, like up here. Maybe because there's another system here. This one's even pointing this way. Because they're squished, basically, they're like an eddy that's being squished, and so it's pushing out its boundaries sideways. So ammonites tend to have a outward pressure along their long axis outward. So when there's a structure here with a long axis this way, it probably has some pressure up in that direction, pushing the surroundings and the currents to different positions and ways that they etch the stone ultimately. Also, I noticed this right here, down over this segment, even though it's eroded up here, kind of looks like a lobe, generally, like one of these. I don't know, just a observation. Doesn't seem to be some universal thing, but makes me think like it started out like that and just eroded inward without actually etching through the stone, and at least directly around it. Over here it did, but then it eroded inward, I guess, to make it more lobe shaped. Then we got another lobe over there. That's definitely, honestly, when I look at this section right here, it looks more like it could be coupled energetically to this and having like a divide of this opposite lobe down here into two lobes. So it's got one lobe over here that's actually been like shared with another system, and then a second lobe that's more like its own system, that then are like the combined opposite to this lobe. Very odd. Probably revealing of something important to do with like how electrons work. Something atomic again. I can only vaguely guess sometimes. Sometimes things like the periodic table of currents come along, but that's not immediately apparent to me. This one's even dividing. Like it's starting here and then eroding like a lobe, but from a point. Just like a fan, alluvial fan or whatever. Some kind of fan of the current flow coming out of a river type of point and then fanning out and creating that, but in a manner where it's doing a similar thing to effectively what's happening here in an ammonite, but where it's only doing it from one direction and one point, largely at least. It's probably overall currents that are interacting that are kind of making it into an ammonite. So maybe if given enough time, the process might have created more of an ammonite out of that. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Definitely something to be made of the erosion patterns here throughout. Like this looks like a current went through here, one way or the other. Possibly this way, creating like a more of a point there. And then maybe another current went through and like went more this way. And it ultimately divided, leading to like a wedge shape between them that then eroded down. And then this is reminiscent of how current flows will frequently happen along this portion of ammonites and shaligrams, where there's actual paths that go through, like here specifically, or here. Kind of makes me think that might be at play, like some current going this way that then erodes through and interacts down here, the boundary at that boundary. So similar to whatever else I was saying looked like it had that boundary. I think that was it. Oh no, is this one? Similar to how this and this share a boundary. Share like this same line. As if there was a current interaction that led to a relationship between those positions. Similarly, looks like it might have happened here in this one and here from over here. Connects in. So this one really might connect through from up here. Let me look closer. Like this. Maybe it doesn't really go so much over here as it, like it looks kind of subtle, like it goes through there. And it definitely goes through there, but maybe it goes also over here and through this area and kind of pushes out this boundary and separates into layers, but then it does it again almost off of this as like a wedge and separates off it, but because this is present, maybe it gives it like enough space to create a flow going along this path this way that then is able to effectively continue along that path and create this ammonite structure. So it goes from this one this way and then feeds over into here, and then into here, which maybe like goes up this way, comes back through this general area as a ammonite eddy flow, etching, like creating an actual eddy to a point where it forms a outlet from the eddy by flowing through this path that it etches, that then gets to some area that's able to erode, which is the next tier pretty much, almost forming like 4 layers, but with them kind of rotating like a peacock feathers kind of thing, which may be happening even with these themselves, like here, and then this way, and then this way, and then this way, and then this way, and then this way. Definitely looks like they're generally rotating. This one even is going more down. I bet if we look over there, there's another one. We gotta be able to find. That would be amazing if we can find some more. Maybe it's this one. Are you the ammonite we're looking for, sir? That smirk of yours seems to suggest maybe. And this little teeth eyeball hiding in there. I guess it's the smiley face below the smiley face. It also looks like an ammonite type thing going on up there with chakras. I don't know what. Something going on there too. This is a chakra with ribs going out around it. Just partially forming, but it actually was energetically coupled for sure to over here in a manner where like this behaved. It could have done this essentially out of the two, even though this is a chakra. Like this point here is pointing upward here, and it's kind of turned basically. Over here is not like that because the like the chakra is pointing upward, and yet it looks like there's ribs there even. There's a boundary, which tends to happen. There's like a chakra basically and another chakra forming that then generally around it has a structure of an ammonite forming. So this is spawning an eddy more like there's an eddy here on this surface here, flowing here, creating a chakra here, although it's probably pretty restricted because of this one, leading to maybe a somewhat out, like angled even based on here. Like this chakra is forming kind of sideways here. But then it was forming another chakra on the side here, coupling energetically all these different like vibrational energies of eddies that were simultaneously occurring. This is kind of crazy. It's got like a doop doop, like a bubbles coming off over here or something. Not bubbles, but like some kind of ripples that formed little segments. I'm not sure where we're looking at relative to previously though. So that is this chakra thing is this. This one is hard to find. Where are we? I'd like to be able to visualize this entirely. Kind of hard to imagine the entirety of the Shaligram without being able to pinpoint which side is which relative to one another. This. Someone watching this like, dude, I see it. I see the connection you're missing. I see it. was thinking it might be like it was trying to form chakras there too. That was just more like if you look at it, here to here is kind of centered here more than way more than here. It's possible this area could literally have been eroded into chakras while the surrounding was eroded, so these were just removed. And then it looked more like this, but it didn't happen. So this is what we see, but it like the process could have continued essentially. It's 1 o'clock. We got family here. I gotta go soon. I can't stay too late. I just thought I'd stream a bit. Okay, there's that chakra thing. There is. Let's go back. Its other half, this thing, is really here, which is part of another ammonite. But it really goes this way, let's see. Like relative to the chakra, it kind of goes more than this way, more this way than this way, where this ammonite actually goes like not. I guess this line here. Maybe I'm just seeing, like, is there some boundary that kind of looks like a tilted ammonite over top this? Like if there had been, like, this shape right here also. This one's pointing right at the chakras. Just pointing right at it. What this... This is such an incredible Shaligram pointing. There's an actual current flow coming out of the tip of that one. Seemingly interacting over here with this flow. Wow, it looks just kind of like muddy. Not muddy, but like kind of what a muddy, wet material could possibly do in the right circumstances. Rather than like the more typical boundary of an ammonite. It's more like this. This does not look muddy in the same way. I don't know why it wouldn't do it more frequently if there's highly pressurized water currents involved, that it would look muddy if it sometimes did. But maybe that's because the sometimes were under less pressure conditions, like the circumstances alleviated pressure enough that it could behave more like a muddy material than like a cosmic material. Oh my god, this Shaligram. Oh my god. Oh my god. There's the... Okay. Let's see. I wanted to mention this one. I don't know if it's real or not. If it's on Etsy, it looks, the rock itself is very rounded, like in terms of the body around the, like if there were to be some ammonite type shell, which regardless of whether they're caused by currents or caused by some fossilization process that somehow could induce all the features that are found on shaligrams, that if you don't know enough features of shaligrams, you might say, well, surely they're fossils. Regardless of how, they tend to have like this. They tend to do this where they protrude beyond the boundary, so it's not doing that in this one, which is not necessary. Like, we just were looking at one that didn't protrude. Like, not this one, but whichever one we were looking at that was more, like, it's not protruding, although this is interesting. This is like a mass. It's kind of part of this one, but it's really like part of the matrix, and the way it looks kind of, this is reminiscent of the wave in Australia, like right there. Oh, there's a major outage. Oh well. The wave, Australia. Oh, it even bends. Oh my god. How epic. Very reminiscent, though, of this Shaligram here. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not. I don't know. So this one, though, like, it's obviously, like, this is not what ammonites look like in general, but mind you, shaligrams can be etched by current, are etched by current flows, and are not fossils. So because they are etched by current flows, the range of outcomes is much larger than just shells fossilizing could induce, where there are just like anomalous structures entirely like this that happen. Like, this, whether or not this one's real, these types of things can happen in shallograms. But I've never seen anything like it. It's kind of like, that looks kind of fake almost. But again, I don't, like, shallograms are incredible. And then like the stone looks kind of like the epoxy ones that shaligram fake epoxy resin, like oops. Like this. These are fake. These are fake. The material of these looks a lot like the material of this one. But at the same time, like, its innards are more detailed in terms of like the material is different. This layer right here is kind of odd. Like if someone were to make it, also if someone were to make it, why would they do this? Like why would they make it like this? It's a very strange Shaligram, fake Shaligram to arrive at. And then this, there's little pores that are seemingly equally spaced-ish kind of thing with what seem to be potentially like linear features generally connecting them, and like it looks kind of like there's a pattern of cross currents where I don't know if the ways Shaligrams are made like this, fake Shaligrams, if they would have the same like bubbly. It kind of looks possible, assuming these are fake, made out of plastic. Rub spot against floor. I don't know. I really don't know. This one has perplexed me. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it really was fake, but I would also not be surprised if I came to find out. I would be a little surprised. I'd be like, wow. If I came to find out this was a real Shaligram, I don't know how I would do it without getting it. Like the features in here, what's going on there, this, there. It looks pretty detailed inside in a way that maybe someone could do it. Like maybe they could take a resin and put like sand on top of it to make like on the inside to do this. But still, they'd have to shape it right. Like all this shaping is kind of not right, because ultimately they would do whatever the hell they wanted, and it would look how it looked if it was fake. But I'm trying to get a better angle in there. I guess that's the best angle in there. It is so weird, though. Is it fake? Like the way that kind of makes me think of sand on top of some kind of material to form like a coating. But then, like, it's got surface roughness and like the shapes to it that would make it a little harder to just do that. I guess you could press it down with something that just holds its form. But I'm pretty sure, like, plastics and things are not that easily workable without, like, keeping it in a mold for long enough to mold it. So I'm not sure it's really even moldable to create something like this. It perplexes me. Maybe if I thought about it from a current flow standpoint and tried to deduce, can currents do this and why would they do this? Because if it's man-made, then there'd probably not be really interesting current flow aspects to it. It's possible. It's just I had to share this one because it's so. If it's real, like what the anomaly? But then like its smoothness, it does have like these kinds of things, which Shaligrams have, but it could just be someone mimicking what Shaligrams have. Like this. This does not make sense at a glance, having a up, down, up, and then maybe down again. In terms of current, would probably not do that. Unless in really weird circumstances where it's caused to like spike vibrate by the interactions, the boundary is where currents are flowing the most. But I could also see that being like scraped into it after the fact by like a key or something because of the physical shape being like an M. So that could totally just be someone scratching in it, but then like there's a lot of more subtle things which would maybe look like sandpaper or something if someone did it. But then again, the pores. And this is the only Shaligram this vendor has I've ever seen from this vendor. So I have nothing to compare this to whatsoever. Usually, when in doubt, if the Shaligram vendor is reliable, like Rudraksh Guru, Mangalam Jewelry, and not to leave anyone out, the many reliable Shaligram vendors' sources for pictures or etc. They like they're not gonna sell a fake when they got all these nice real ones, and usually they're so impossible to make. Like there's no way someone made, say, like this one. No one made this. It's very abundantly clear just by the like delicate features here, etc. Like no one made this. No one did this. Clear as day. KRE, who is something Emporium, something possibly Rudraksh Emporium, I forget the K, on Etsy or on eBay. Just to Mangalam Jewelry, like definitely real, no question, no question. We can tell by just the literal detail. No one did this. But sometimes they aren't as pronounced. Like, again, like, they can look like this. They can look like this, generally, at least. Maybe not exactly if this is a fake. Maybe it's they don't look exactly like this, because it does look kind of different and smooth, and the color of it looks different in my eyes, but maybe I'm just like, because I'm looking at this shape, it's hard to tell. I'm like, it must be fake. Like, I gotta lean that way at least. Caution. No, just caution. I've certainly come across fake Shaligrams, and I may even have came across ones that I didn't realize were fake. that I interpreted as real, but I really don't think so. They seem to mostly be real. So there's that thing, that going for it is generally when people post Shaligrams online, they are real. Because they're just not replicable. They're just too detailed. It's very clear. I don't need to, like, contemplate if someone made this. There's those striations on one that's very real. There's no question this is a real Shaligram. No one made this. No one modified it to make it look a certain way. This is just how it was. The end. I cannot. One thing I'm noticing is this little line here. Another one there. Like, why would someone do that? Looks like maybe even one there that bends. This looks kind of torquey. These two look kind of like they got a torque to them. Which, so does this. These look kind of coiled in some way, in a manner that I wouldn't expect someone replicating Shaligrams to do. And making a fake Shaligram, I don't think they would do that. So why would they do that? Why would they do this? Why would they do these? Like, that's a pretty relevant question. On these little spikes are pretty near one another, and then they kind of space out as they go further over there. Like, that's a subtlety that they would have to just envision, and like actually create a mold able to do this. So it's like there's so many reasons that it may be real. It just looks unreal. I think that's what's going on here. It looks unreal. It's unbelievable. But it's a real Shaligram. The vendor does have other things that look real. Like they're real. Other rocks. Just not Shaligrams. This is from Ayasu stones. Scheiße. Ooh. So just to see, Shaligram, only one, but it is amongst. I mean, sure, they're ridiculously expensive. I don't know if that's whatever this is worth $3,100. I don't know why it would be space rock. I mean, that makes me maybe a little suspicious now. But it looks, whatever it is, looks like real. It's not like they made it. They just maybe mislabeled it if it's not an actual space rock. But maybe it is a space rock. I don't want to just assume because the first thing I look at it says space rock. Oh my god, it looks like the cosmos. Holy, the hue and everything. How incredible. Like gas clouds. Stars. I mean, whatever they're selling is cool. It's incredible. Which kind of gives credence to Shaligram, which is significantly lower priced. Which kind of gives credence to that this might be like a vendor with some really unique items that they feel are actually worth that. I mean, from space. I don't know. The more from space I see, the more I'm like, I don't know. This one are the same. Might be the same ad. Sometimes people post the same thing. Just inadvertently. Same images. I mean, whether or not this stuff is this stuff I find coolest is the cheapest. Not that it's cheap, but the Shaligram and this is cool. This reminiscent of the Scholar Stones. Wow. Green stone. Wow. Wow. Oh my god. I mean, some of these are incredible. Okay. Okay. What the... Did I open that one? Like, I don't see someone who's selling this. Selling this. Although, what the... What in the fuck is this? This looks kind of fake. Although, I mean, I have no idea. I don't know why someone would fake like a plastic straw coral or something. Like that of a human shoe. From India. Wow. Is that where it's shipping from or where it's from? I guess if I look at this one, it doesn't say from, so maybe that was actually from there. Wow. Holy crap. This is cool. I like the like raw, cleaned off, and that's about it. Not hiding any features. besides the dirt. Very rare Roman ancient ring. Looks like it's wood. I don't know, I guess it could be. Let's just say images. Why would they have the same ring? I'm very confused. Hard to say. Looks like it could be. I mean, I guess it's possible. It could be authentic. Both of them. Oh, what's this one? This looks like it might not be the same vendor. Okay. Okay. They got like cobwebs on it. Okay, they're probably all fake. Right? Oh my god, I'm still like, could they have just made many of them? There's an opening there. What the fuck? I'm looking at this like, what the fuck are these? Do these have a purpose? Is it like a whistle? Like what? Like it looks like a tangential current interaction. It's got a side current here. And then apparently one there. Like it would be crazy if something like this was misinterpreted as a ring and it was some other completely different thing. It looks like they're probably fake, just based on there being this one, though. Let's see what else they selling. Okay, I don't know. I didn't really do any looking at this Shaligram, or any Shaligram. I prepared for though, so that's too bad. That is too bad. This camera, by the way, this microscope camera, is amazing. I can connect it to my cell phone and use it without it even being plugged in. I can go somewhere, bring it, and see the microscope through my phone. Oh my god. It's epic. I figured it out last night. Okay, I gotta go. I'll see you guys on the next one later. Peace out. Thanks for hanging out. Or, did I. What? What the? Oh, you guys can't even see. Wait, did I show you this one? What the How in Tar Nation did this happen? Anyone claiming these are fossils in truth? Just another thing to account for. Like, what about this chakra? It goes over, like, it even has a line that continues, and then it goes down, boop, over, down, over, and maybe even down, over. And then almost like a hand holding it. This thing, which kind of has like a nucleus, like a ring structure around the center area over here, but in a weird way. And then it's angled almost like a slanted pillar, and then it's got a support beam type thing over here on this side, where this side it doesn't. But it doesn't have this over here. So maybe there's some energetic like interaction of it all in terms of why that is there and that is there. And then there seem to be some other features, and then, real quick, I'm going to leave it a second. Some more erosional features. And then this. Very what in the around it we can see like a current flow was etching in. But through the ammonite structure into the internal region where we see through the ammonite structure, but not like deep, just like the next layer down, some ribs like these things, but just below the surface. And then we see current flow here, similar to the broken Shaligram that I talk about in several of the more recent recordings. Okay, guys,